A Place Called Home by Laurie Wick, Chapter 37. For the second time in not many months, Christine awoke to find Maggie nearby. Gone was the fear of the unknown, replaced this time with just a calm security at seeing her familiar face. Maggie helped Christine drink a glass of water and then left to tell Mark his patient was awake. Within minutes, both Mark and Maggie were at her side. Christine, still drowsy, lay quiet as Mark checked her leg. It was tender, and he told her, not badly burned. As Christine began to come fully awake, more questions were coming to mind. Mark pulled the desk chair up to the head of the bed and sat down. "Your leg looks good. The only thing I'm concerned with is your nose, throat, and lungs. You took in a lot of smoke, and I want you to stay in bed until I give you leave to get up. And no talking." "No talking?" Christine croaked, thinking of all the questions she had. "Does your throat hurt?" Christine knew what he was getting at, and stubbornly refused to answer. "Christine," Mark's voice was very stern, and he sounded amazingly like Luke. "Does your throat hurt?" Her jaw set, Christine gave him a short nod. "Well, until it stops hurting, you're not to talk." "How am I to communicate?" Tears sprang to Christine's eyes, born of a sore throat and frustration. Mark answered with his best bedside manner. "There will be someone here to check on you at all times." She watched Mark produce a small pad of paper and a pencil from his pocket. "If you can't answer with a nod or shake of your head—" Mark tapped the pad and put it on the bedside table. Christine was on the verge of telling Mark to take his orders and get out of her room, but she began to grow weary, and she ached all over. Suddenly, the fight went out of her, and she closed her eyes, not wanting to fight sleep or anything else. Mark took Christine's sleep as a peaceful acceptance of her situation. Unaware of how far this was from the truth, he headed out to see what Mac and his brothers were finding. Mark found Mac, Luke, and Silas, along with a few other neighbors, looking around the charred remains of the barn. There was talk of possible causes for the fire. The family was thanking the men who had carried water and soaked the ground surrounding the barn, seeing that the structure itself was going too quickly to be saved. It had been a small barn, and thankfully the closest building was well over 100 feet away. But the water surrounding the barn had been an extra safety precaution. When Luke found a moment with Mark, he asked about Christine. "Her leg is in good shape, but I think she's feeling pretty weak. She was asleep when I left her." "She sounded so hoarse last night. Will her throat be okay?" "I've told her to be quiet until her sore throat is gone, but I think she'll be fine. She wasn't too happy with the idea of not talking." "Telling a woman not to talk is like saying sick 'em to a hound dog." Both men laughed at this and started toward the house. Close to an hour later, with everyone just finishing breakfast, Maggie came down to prepare a tray for Christine. Christine, wrapped warmly in her robe, was sitting up in bed brushing her hair. She could hear voices downstairs and wondered what was happening. Christine reached for her Bible, but didn't open it. She leaned her head back against the oak headboard and began to pray. Christine told God what an awful patient she was. She was rarely sick, and when she was, she made herself miserable by fretting about things not getting done until she could be up and around again. She and Grandma M worked so well together. Christine asked God to soon put her back on her feet so she could be of help again. Christine's prayer was interrupted when the questions she had earlier that morning began to roll once again through her mind. They destroyed her peace and made her feel weary. Did the barn burn down completely? Where were the animals? Who was taking care of them? Did anything else burn? Was anyone hurt? Tears again filled Christine's eyes as in frustration she asked God to help her obtain some answers. She was feeling sleepy again, and try as she might, she couldn't stop herself from drifting off. Less than 5 minutes passed before Luke came through Christine's door bearing a breakfast tray and a smile, only to find her sound asleep. She had scooted down a bit and was curled against her propped-up pillow. Luke adjusted the pillow and covered her with the bedclothes as Christine continued to sleep. He wondered if he would get to see her at all today. As it turned out, he did not. When Maggie reported that she slept through lunch and on into the afternoon, Luke knew he had to get home. So with a final check on her, he made his way home, hoping that tomorrow she would feel up to company.